$1,000 a month, again, as soon as you dig into it, you realize, wait a minute. Like, this would be tremendous for our society. It is one of the only meaningful things we can do in the face of the fourth industrial revolution, and there's nothing stopping a majority of citizens in a democracy from voting ourselves a dividend. Nothing at all. If 51% of us get together and say, hey, that makes a lot of sense, let's vote ourselves a dividend, then we will make it happen. And that is why we are building this movement tonight. So the first big move is the freedom dividend. The second big move is to get healthcare off the backs of American families and businesses. It is totally messed up in the richest and most advanced country in the history of the world. When we get sick or injured, we are more stressed out about navigating our healthcare system and our bureaucracy and paying for treatment than we are getting well. And it does not need to be that way. And one thing that infuriates me is when people are like, how are you going to pay for that? Are you kidding me? We already spend twice as much in our healthcare as other countries to worse effects. We're spending 18% of GDP. Again, I did the math. We can get the prices down, the access up, and improve our healthcare system and make it much more transparent and rational. I have a friend who's a healthcare investor. And she said to me, she said, Andrew, I've been looking at the numbers of these healthcare companies and I've never seen anything like it. I have never seen profiteering at this level. It is like, she said, like it actually struck her as completely corrupt. And she went so far as to say she's going to short the stocks or bet against the stocks of those companies. And then she gave me a donation and she said, go clean that shit up. So that's what we have to do in the healthcare system. We have to straighten out our incentives. We have to make it so that right now our healthcare providers benefit more from revenue generating activity than they do something that would make us healthy. And if we get the incentives right, we can make it so that our healthcare system starts working for us. So the third big thing is, how many of you all woke up this morning? Oh, what do we got?
Eagles.
Eagles, it's a sign. Snatch this cap off of my head. So the third big move we have to make, how many of you were excited about GDP when you woke up this morning? How many of you were like, I'm going to make a big contribution today, I can feel it. So GDP is going up and up. Meanwhile, more and more Americans are getting left behind. How many of you knew that our life expectancy has declined for the last 3 years? Yeah, and why is that? Suicides and drug overdoses have both overtaken vehicle deaths as leading cause of death for the first time in American history. Do you all want to know the last time our life expectancy declined for 3 years in a row? The Spanish flu of 1918. That man's definitely a Yang gangster. Yeah, it's the Spanish flu. So what good is celebrating record high GDP when our people are dying younger? And right now, my wife is at home with our 2 boys, one of whom is autistic. What does her work get calculated at in GDP? Zero! What is the market value her work at? Zero! And we all know that's nonsense. We know that the work she's doing is more challenging and important and vital for our future than a lot of the other work that's going on. And this is one thing that the freedom dividend will do, and it does not balance the scales. But right now, there are millions of American women who are in exploitative or abusive jobs or relationships because they lack the economic means to improve their situations, and $1,000 a month would make a tremendous difference. Now, the Democratic Party talks all the time about empowering women. And I'm going to suggest that nothing would empower women more directly and effectively than putting $1,000 a month into their hands. We can either talk about empowering women or we can do something about it. And I say we do something about it. So if GDP is not a measurement that we're excited about, what would get you all excited? What would you like, if that improved, that would actually make you say, wow, things are getting better? Andrew, Yang in the White House. I appreciate that. Thank you. So mental health and freedom from substance abuse. Education and childhood success. Our own health and life expectancy. Yes, homelessness and everyone having a roof over their head. How clean our air and water are. So these are measurements that would actually get you excited. And this is what we can use to measure our progress moving forward. We made up GDP almost 100 years ago. And even the inventor of GDP said three things. He said, number one, this is a terrible measurement for national well-being and we should never use it as that. Number two, we should include parenthood and motherhood because it's so important. And number three, we should not include military defense spending because it adds no economic value. So of course we ignored all three of those things, and now we're riding GDP off a cliff because things like self-driving trucks and AI are going to be great for GDP, but they're going to leave more and more Americans behind. Now here's a great thing, Seattle. This is not that hard to fix. After you get me into the White House, all I have to do... USA! 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 Are you chanting USA or US Yang? I couldn't even tell. Either one. When you were saying USA and I cupped my ear, I got like Hulk Hogan flashbacks, the 80s. So this is not that hard to fix. After I'm president, all I have to do is go down the street to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics and say, hey, GDP, really old, really out of date. How about we update it with these other measurements that people would be much more excited about, and then I'll present them all to you every year at the State of the Union. I'm going to be the first president to use PowerPoint in the State of the Union. How do you feel about that? Yeah, break out the PowerPoint chant. Don't do it. Yes, this is the nerdiest presidential campaign in history. We did it, Seattle. We weren't quite there until that moment, but then you just did it. But seriously, like the State of the Union addresses are becoming these bizarre theater performances that are like borderline unwatchable. Am I right? Yes. So then you turn it on, you'd be like, oh, I wonder how we're doing. And then I'd be like, hey guys, like here's our life expectancy declining. That's terrible. Like let's try and do something about that. You know, like we'd actually see, and then you'd be like, oh, I wonder how we're doing this year. And then I'll have the measurements up, and then it'll get us galvanized and hopefully even start rewarding the individuals and organizations that help make our society stronger. So if a company or organization got someone off of drugs or helped someone reintegrate into society after they came out of prison, then we'd be celebrating that instead of this GDP number that's increasingly unrelated to how we're doing. Yeah. So these are the three big changes. As you all know, I've got about 103 other changes on the website at yang2020.com because I'm very, very detail oriented. But the three big changes, the freedom dividend, public option for healthcare, and a human-centered economy that revolves around things that work for us are the three biggest changes I will make as president. Yes. So I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm going to bring you guys behind the curtain a little bit. It's so much fun. This campaign, we're like taking off, and I'm a numbers guy, and I see all the numbers heading up to the right. So we are polling at 3% nationwide, higher than your governor, Jay Inslee. I don't want to bag on Jay, he's a nice guy. All right, apparently they don't think Jay's a nice guy. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. So we're polling at 3%. We have raised over $3 million in average donations of only $19. So I joke all the time that my fans are even cheaper than Birdie's. How many of you all have donated to this campaign? Raise your hand. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So if you have not donated and you donate $20, you will immediately be an above average member of the gang. This is a very cheap gang to join. So a guy named Nate Silver, who loves digging into facts and figures, he looked at three things. He said, wait a minute, Andrew Yang is polling at 3%. He's raised over $3 million in a grassroots campaign, and no one's ever heard of him. And he said, looking at those three variables, we cannot rule out the possibility that Andrew Yang will grow and grow and grow and win the whole thing. And right now, Democrats are casting about. You ask Democrats what the most important feature in a candidate is, and it's beat Donald Trump. And I'm going to suggest to you all tonight, Seattle, that the candidate that's best positioned to beat Donald Trump is a candidate who's already getting support from independents, libertarians, Trump voters. I see, I love that. Democrats and progressives. This campaign is bringing all Americans together. It's one reason why, as we go down this campaign, Democrats are going to wake up and say, wait a minute, he's the guy who's going to beat Donald Trump for us. Yeah! And I am already one of only 8 candidates to qualify for the Democratic primary debates in June and July. On the basis of both polling and donations. So thank you for making it happen. And you know what America's going to think when they turn on that TV and see me on stage. They're going to ask, who is the Asian man next to Joe Biden? That's my president. And then they're going to Google Andrew Yang and they're going to be like, holy cow. $1,000 a month is a much more concrete way to improve my life than anything anyone else on that stage is talking about. And we're going to grow and grow and grow. So you all are among the early adopters of this wave that's just going to keep on growing, and it's going to crest right at the right time when the voting starts in early 2020. Oh, Donald Trump is our president today.